So hello, my name is Jani Turunen. I come from Finland, from a company called Solita. Solita is an IT consultancy company, and I'm one of the guys who build AI models for our customers, which are companies basically. But today I'll be your storyteller, not your AI lead. So I'll be telling you a story about a guy who went to an online hardware store. He basically wanted to buy some goods for himself. And once he was happy with the contents of his shopping basket, he went to the checkout page. And on the checkout page, he basically noticed that there's an option here for me to be able to pay later. And this option is offered by a third party. It's not by the hardware store itself, but by a third party. So it actually allows me to pay by invoice. That sounds great, our guy thought. I think I'm going to be taking that option. So he went ahead and put in his details on the page and clicked to proceed. And what happens? Computer says no. So our guy is like, oh, shoot. So it's not going to let me pay by invoice. Well, this is not what I wanted. Our guy gets a little bit upset, but myself, I just would have probably paid by other means, but our guy actually calls the company. Not the hardware store, but the third party offering this payment option. And the company tells him that, talk to the hand. We're not going to be telling you how our AI works. It's none of your business. It's AI. It's perfect. It's ours. So go away. And probably most people would have just gone away, but our guy gets even more upset, and he actually gets in touch with the Finnish non-discrimination ombudsman. And the ombudsman starts an investigation that takes, I think, a year and a half. And during the investigation, what happens is that they find out that this AI is discriminatory. So the financing company actually had to open and explain how the AI works. And it turns out that they are using data such as gender, they are using data such as mother tongue, as well as place of living, all of which are semi-sensitive data points. And basically the ombudsman levied a conditional fine of 100,000 euros. So the financing company had to change the way that the algorithm works. I'm not going to be saying the name of the company here, although it's public knowledge. Please grab me if you want to hear more about it later. So all ends well, right? So we have the small guy fighting the big financing company and winning. Yeah, but it's actually really just the tip of the iceberg. So it took one very persistent end user and the Finnish non-discrimination ombudsman to actually catch one AI. And this is the only AI that's been taken to the cleaners in Finland, and I believe also in Scandinavia. So I would go as far as to argue that we're actually living in an age of AI Wild West. So we're using AI applications all the time. You pull out your phone, it's using AI to recognize who you are. You go to social networking sites, they're using AI to optimize what to show you, what kind of adverts to show you, what kind of content to show you. So we're using AI all the time, but it's impossible for us end users to figure out, is that piece of functionality actually AI? Is that piece of functionality discriminating against me, or is it is it behaving nicely? We also have very little AI regulation, although in our case there was regulation, but it was the old school law that says that it's not okay to discriminate over gender. But remember, very little regulation. The catch-22 here is that companies that I try to help, they are now sitting on the fence that, okay, so we know that AI regulation is going to come, maybe 4 years, 5 years down the line. What do we need to do now to be more future-proof so that our AI applications that we build this year will not become obsolete when the regulation arrives? So I have a couple of pointers, and this is not an exhaustive list, but a couple of pointers I want to tell you about. First of all, tell your customers that this is an AI application. Sounds like a no-brainer, okay? Second of all, as part of your AI project, actually think about the impact that your application might have. So your application might have impact on people, It might have an impact on society. Whoops, I can see it here, but you can't see it. Okay. It can also even have an impact on environment. And this is a mapping that I use. So my customer is often the employer. The employer has employees. The employer has customers. Customers have end users, blah, blah, blah. So there are all kinds of impacts in play. There's also short-term impacts, long-term impacts, direct and indirect impacts. I can actually see the presentation here, but you can't see it. I don't know what's going on. Okay, here we are again. Okay. So third, but not least, I'd like to talk a little bit about AI transparency. There's been a lot of talk about AI transparency the last few years. And so my customers ask me, okay, does this mean that we have to reveal all our secrets and make them all public? No. But AI transparency, even as used internally as part of an AI project, it allows you to document and figure out what kind of technology you use, what kind of data you use, who owns the data, where you source the data from, what kind of rights you have to the data, how high quality the data you has. But it also talks about you're able to document about an organizational motivation. And at least these three things allow you to be better positioned. And I'd argue that the financing company that I talked to you about would not have made the same kind of an AI application that they made had they taken this into consideration. Thank you very much.